come to some of the issues that we see in India, and I would say some other similarly placed countries. Now, having understood the thinking and the thought process and the history as well, if we could now look at some of the ways in which this plays out on the ground, where we see, for example, in India, evangelists very strategically and aggressively convert people. Can you tell us about what are the various tactics that they use in these predatory conversions?
Wow, that's the right word, Kamalji. You've used predatory. Yeah, they're soul predators. That's what I can say. So when we talk of Christianity, we usually associate it with words like syncretistic, adaptive, customizable, multi-level marketing, so on and so forth. But very rarely do we examine its psychosomatic side of Christianity. It definitely has, at least it tries to accomplish a psychosomatic effect on the human mind. And let me tell you, Christianity has mastered the art of getting into the human mind, the human head. So it can make you see things and hear voices. If you've actually heard some of those testimonies of Christian converts, you would hear the most common thing is, Jesus spoke to me. I saw Jesus. I was about to commit suicide and there he appeared to me. Right. I was lying in this hospital bed. Doctors have given up on me, but there Jesus appeared. So Christianity can actually make you see things and hear voices. I've heard voices of Jesus talking to me. So it can make you into what you would not even have dreamt of becoming. Now, to understand the predatory methodology of proselytizers, we would have to look into Christianity's early history. By now, you would have understood that I love Christian history. So the Christian movement had its center in Jerusalem, right? It took shape as a sect or grouping within the parent body of Judaism. And it did not take birth as a new religion. So the original community of the Messiah believers, composed of Palestinian Jews, maybe 11 male disciples and maybe a handful of women, say just 20 people altogether. These were lower class, uneducated, daily laborers from a remote corner of the Roman Empire. Now this handful of some 20-something people, they believed that their God-man, who was born among them, resurrected. He resurrected and they proclaimed he resurrected and ascended to heaven. Okay, and they believed that they witnessed him. So they proclaimed his imminent return, which is the second coming, which all Christians are waiting for. So they proclaimed his imminent return as the fulfiller of God's kingdom. And this group, this tiny group of day laborers and lower class uneducated believers, they lived in anticipation of that future event. So they called themselves the poor. They called themselves the saints. And from that early time, they called themselves the ecclesia. Ecclesia means church, assembly in Greek. They actually saw themselves as the true assembly of Israel, which is the end time community which the Lord will recognize. Jesus will recognize when he came back the second time. So this group of people, they saw themselves simply as Jews, as renewed Israel. They did not think of themselves as a new religion. So they saw themselves as Jews, just a renewed Israel. And how do we know this? Because this early community was still attending the temple and they were obedient to the law. I told you about the Aramaic speaking Palestinian converts, right? They still attended the temple, the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, and they still obeyed the law. Now, from being a handful of people, within 3 centuries, they grew to some 3 million adherents. And there were no more Messiah believers at this point. When they became 3 million adherents, they were called the Christiani or Cristiano for singular. So plural is Christiani or Christians, the believers of Christ. Christ meaning Messiah. So by the end of 4th century, their religion was the official religion of Rome. And guess what their number was? 30 million followers, half of the empire. Ask a Christian today how they went from 20 people of uneducated laborers to 30 million in just 4 centuries. And Christians would say that it was the true religion of all the Roman religions. It was the only true religion, the good religion, the right religion, which is why the power of Holy Spirit made it grow. Was it really though, is what we need to ask. If you look at the history of Christianity and study how it succeeded, you would see that the historical contingencies, there are certain historical contingencies that actually led to the Christian conquest. That's on one hand. On the other hand is, I hate to admit, but their brilliant strategy. Okay, the Christian evangelistic campaign. And this was a strategy that was used for winning converts. Now, I would like to break it down into 5 aspects, okay, of this strategy, and they are in use to this day. In that sense, Christianity hasn't changed. So first is Christianity creates the need. It created the need back then. It still creates the need to this day. Any time it's addressing a new group for the first time, it creates that need. So it created back then. So imagine if Christianity was only addressing the existing needs of people. It targeted, okay? That is the needs of the pagan in the ancient world and the needs of the Hindus from the Indian context. It would not have been able to take over the world like it did. Christianity succeeded in establishing itself to this extent because it actually created a need that people did not even know they had. And that need was for salvation. And once they successfully established that need, they claimed that only they could meet that need. Nobody else could. Now, the second aspect is Christianity begins its work at the grassroots. We as Indians know it. Nobody knows it as well as we do. This is nothing new. This has always been the practice from the beginning also. Like I said, they were day laborers. They were low class, uneducated. And in fact, Jesus, if you look at the story of Jesus, not that I'm not saying they're real, but if you look at the stories in the Bible, Jesus calls the fishermen first. And he says, what are you fishing for fish? I will make you fishers of men. That's what I said in the beginning. So he chose that class of people. That's what the Bible says. So Christianity did that. Now, for any movement to succeed, it needs to have numbers on its side. We know that, right? And this is exactly what Christianity worked on at first. It did not waste time taking its message to the elite and the educated high-class people in the Roman Empire. The elite would only make up a handful, right? So it first took its message to the grassroots where most of the people usually live. And it waited till it grew to the size enough to make a political impact. Christianity is never in a rush. It's never in a rush. So the first believers shared their belief about the miracle working power of a resurrected Messiah. They shared it with others in their own community and convinced them first. So, see, maybe everybody was not convinced in the beginning, but they were not disheartened by that. So they knew that eventually, so committed they were to whatever they believed in. They knew that eventually they'll be able to win converts. So the community of believers grew steadily. Their motto was to reach one person at a time. So it grew from bottom up, not top down. To this day, you see that happening. That strategy works. Its agents, that is the proselytizers, are most active among the disadvantaged communities of our country. They're busy converting the tribals, they're busy converting the economically back, people in the rural areas. So that's the second strategy, which was there back when it began and continues to this day. The third is Christianity meticulously eliminates competition. As I said, it has mastered the art of getting inside the human head, right? So it begins by demonizing competitors. Paganism back in the day and Hinduism in the Indian context. So it says it's all or nothing for Christianity. Either you abandon your former beliefs, practices, your religious associations, your religious commitments, and come join us, or just don't come. You can take your gods into the church. But paganism didn't operate that way. For pagan religions, if the worshipper of Zeus would suddenly start worshipping Athena, he wouldn't have to leave Zeus. He could bring in Athena, he could bring in Apollo, he could bring in Kali, Shiva, Vishnu, anybody. But Christianity was not like that. Well, you're a worshipper of Zeus, leave him at the door if you want to come in. So Christianity was the only religion that demanded exclusivity. And it was the first religion to demand exclusivity. So by doing this, do you see what they were doing? They were actually eliminating competition. They destroyed competition. They destroyed paganism in the ancient world, and they're trying to destroy Hinduism in our times. Now, the fourth strategy is they always try to find an influential member in the group. For example, back in the day, the male members decided what the male members of the household decided what religion the family must follow. So they simply had to convert the male. When they saw that converting the influential member in the person who called the shots in the group was important for its success, they realized this in the first 3 centuries. They made it the standard business model. So among the tribal cultures, they targeted the tribe head because he decided the religion of the entire tribe. Right. When you come to India, the religion is a domestic thing, right? So proselytizers target women. Right. It's a domestic thing, right? So the woman usually decides what is best for the child, and so here they target women. Right. But the fifth strategy is it exploits human need. We know what that is. So humans are like, humans always love these magical solutions to their human problems. And Christianity sells itself as that magical solution to human needs. And it also took control of, it takes control of the society by way of schools, education. I'm talking about from the context of India. So it took control of the most critical industries, which is education industry, hospitals, and employment exchanges. So, Kamalji, in my experience, Now, I would also like to add that the reason Christianity targets women folk in India is because, especially in the rural areas, it's a woman who is responsible for the upkeep of the family health, children, husband, and it's a woman who is responsible for keeping the families together. And it's again the woman who is responsible for putting food on the plates. Even if the breadwinner is the man, she has to ensure that there's food for everybody in the family. And of course, she has to fetch water, and it's her responsibility to keep the water pots full at all times. When this going gets tough for the woman, any of this aspect is disrupted, she is in need of help. And it's her need that makes her a potential fish. And there is a fisher with the book, lurking in every street corner of our neighborhoods in India, every neighborhood of India. So this is the standard business model of Christianity. Then we have the syncretistic model, we have the digestion model, we have the miracle model, we have the need fulfillment model. So they keep updating their strategy. Sometimes they implement it in isolation, sometimes they implement it as a combination of 2 or 3 models, and they use it according to the requirement of their target fish. Yeah, very strategic, very, very brilliant strategy has been laid down, and proselytizers today do not have to write down their strategy. It's already there. They just have to implement it.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.